You're a
All good.
thorough guy.
Hey, the devil's in the details.
That's right. I respect it.
All right.
And it's
Gabe,
all
are you ready?
Hell yeah.
Matt, are you ready?
I am very ready.
Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Glass Half Sports. This is episode 38, March 3rd. Glad to have you in with us. I am one half of your hosting duties, Nick Huffman, and joining me today is Immensing, but not of the Michael kind, of the Matthew kind. His brother is in filling in while Mike is actually out sick today, so feel better. Matt, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing better than Michael, apparently. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Good week for you to come in. We do have some things to talk about that are like right up your alley. If you are watching, also, thank you for joining us today. Go ahead and share with your friends on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, and Twitch. We are on a lot of platforms these days. And if you miss the live show, you can find us on MCN6 on your Roku or wherever you have cable TV. Fridays at what time, Gabe?
Well, not Friday, first of all. Saturday. 2 o'clock.
There we go.
Thanks for your support.
Absolutely.
What time was that again on Saturday?
2 p.m.
There we go.
2 p.m.
Big show for you guys today. We are going to be running through the UFC 272 card. Big fight at the top of that one with a little bit more animosity on the line than normal. The MLB lockout because Rob Manchild decided to cancel opening day. We're going to walk through some of the NFL prospects at the quarterback position heading into the draft. We'll check in on our Minnesota winter sports franchises with Wild Wolf Watch and do a little bit of a preview for March Madness. Excited to have you in. And I guess we can start with Matt's area of expertise here with UFC. Talk to me a little bit about the story behind this Masvidal-Colby Covington rivalry that is going to be plastered to everybody's television on Saturday night.
Well, they are a rivalry of, very unusual rivalry, to put it lightly.
Frenemies,
Yeah,
almost
exactly.
at this point.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So do you know exactly, do you have the ability to walk us through the timeline?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, at the beginning of Colby Covington's career, George Masvidal, or Jorge Masvidal, however you want to pronounce it, was
Street Jesus.
Street Jesus was in Strikeforce, actually fighting for a world title already when Colby Covington was just starting his career.
Yep.
So Colby Covington lived with George Masvidal, used his sponsors to eat his food, all that stuff.
Used his trainer.
He used his trainer, and they were, they became really good friends. And Colby Covington basically went around saying, my best friend George Masvidal, they were super close for many, many years. And then basically when Colby Covington started to talk a lot of smack, which a lot of people, I don't know if you know this personally, but that actually kind of saved his UFC career. The
UFC had told Dan Lambert at American Top Team, which is where, Colby was kind of brought into just to be I don't want to say a wrestling dummy, but a good training partner for some of the guys that were at the time building American Top Team in the very, very early years, which was Jorge Masvidal, being a part of that camp, right?
Yeah. So basically when Colby Covington started to get his own clout from his trash talk, George Masvidal didn't take very kindly to it because that's not really his style. He talks trash, but not in the way that Colby Covington does. You know what I mean? George is basically just like, oh, I'm going to break his face. Whereas Colby Covington has to, say something about your family or where you're from or your religion or something like that. And that really rubbed George the wrong way. So that was the beginning of it. And then,
and this all happened right around the time, and as far as like not paying the trainer and stuff like that, that all happened leading up to him winning that interim title, correct?
So that was actually the fight that did it, was the interim title fight. So there was already a rift growing between them over Colby just kind of getting his clout and stuff like that and doing it in a way that George didn't really appreciate.
Right.
And then it became the thing where Colby won the interim title and he was supposed to pay one of his trainers a certain
like $12 grand,
and apparently he paid him $0.
That's grand theft.
George Masvidal. Colby is trying to say that he paid him half because the commission said that they paid him twice as much as what he actually received. That's what he's trying to say. So I mean, there's two sides to every story. Some say 3 sides to every story. You know what I mean? The 2 guys and then the truth.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's always kind of a blend of both worlds. I feel like in a lot of these stories, a lot of it has become very personal. A lot of it has become very public, and who's the king of Miami and all of this stuff. Like, I would love to have seen that the BMF belt was going to be on the line for a fight like this. Just like, let's push all the chips into the center of the table. Since Jorge Masvidal, even though he's lost multiple times since winning that belt, this seems like a good spot for it to be in with there not really being a belt on the card. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I agree with you. If they were going to push it the one time, I think now would be another good time to push that and put that as, something to use. Because I guarantee you, if you put that out there, you're going to get more pay-per-views from casual viewers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, maybe the hardcore fans are like, I don't care, whatever you got to do to push it. But people who don't really know anything are going to, you know what I mean? Go, okay, I want to see that.
Well, and I think it's a good opportunity too, because
I think Masvidal happens to be pretty good on Xbox, for the record. I use him.
Can I ring in on something here?
Yeah, absolutely, Gabe.
So, first of all, I think this is do you think this is good for UFC that we're getting into this era where you have these big card fights for guys who really aren't, hot right now? It's all about the trolling and stuff like that. Like, that's really why it's like a soap opera. It's a homoerotic soap opera that I can't wait to watch.
I'll let you answer first because I have an opinion on it. But
I'm going to leave the last part alone there that you said.
Oh, that's fine. That's just my opinion.
Not that I'm not going to, give a take one way or the other on that. But I think that it's important actually to use guys who still have really big names and really good fighting ability, even if they are not necessarily going to be the next champion of the world. You don't want it to get to where boxing sort of ended up going, where everyone's scared to lose their
right.
Everyone's afraid that they'll never get a chance to be the champion if they lose to the current champion or whatever. I mean, look at Glover Teixeira. He's 42 years old or 43 years old.
Yeah,
and he's
what a
literally
story.
the current light heavyweight champion of the world. And he's been in the UFC since like 2012, and he fought for like 10 years before that too. It's not like he, doesn't have a lot of mileage. He just kept pushing and getting better at the sport and evolving with the game. And what I think that really shows is that this sport really is a sport, and you can get better at it over time if you treat your body the right way. It's not just dogfighting and like once you've lost a couple, you're over. It's not really like that. It depends on how you treat your athletic career. If you want to continue after a couple of losses, like you could treat like a bad year where you have 3 losses in a row like a bad season and move on to the next, or you could say, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I think both of these guys still have some pretty good tread left on the tires, and I think it's definitely going to make for a really awesome main event. So to answer your question, I think it's a good thing in a lot of ways. I don't know about it being a pay-per-view. I mean, I think both of these guys kind of have the ego that they need to be the main event of a pay-per-view in order to do it. And we'll see how they sell. I know George Masvidal sells really well, but me personally, as a hardcore fan, it's definitely not something that I would need to spend the $85 on if I absolutely had to spend it all by myself. If I could split it with some friends, maybe, but if it's all me, I'm not going to do it.
I agree with everything you said there, except here's why you're a moron. It's because actually, I love it. I'm totally joking.
No, tell me why I'm a moron.
What I was trying to get at is that it's incentivizing the soap opera and the trolling stuff.
Well,
which is that getting old to you guys, I guess?
Not, and I think this is a different scenario, like in my opinion, because if you really do, so let's look at where that division ranks out. And Dana White has even come out and said it on multiple occasions now. If Kamaru Usman doesn't exist, Colby Covington is your champion. He is that good, right? So I don't think it's necessarily one of those things where this is all pomp and circumstance, you know what I mean? Where it's all hype and talk. Like Masvidal can bang, and Kobe is a legitimate #1 contender. So this still is a headline fight, in my opinion.
He's actually, you can't really say he's the #1 contender anymore because now he's just the silver medalist of the division. He's the first.
But
he's the
first, last gatekeeper. He's the last boss.
Exactly, because he's already lost twice to Usman, so they're not gonna fight a third time.
You're right, and that's why I think when you listen to some of the press conferences, Colby Covington has already gone into I'm moving on to Dustin Poirier, or he's made mention to maybe I would go up and wait and try to get in. It was shut down pretty quickly, but Chael Sonnen was talking about him going up and fighting Izzy. You know what I mean?
Down and weight, maybe. I don't think he's big enough to go up. He literally walks around at 180.
Yeah,
he's a small.
So I don't
small welterweight.
I don't think it's all hype. I think there is a lot of gatekeepers in a lot of these divisions right now because you look at it, who's really going to challenge Francis? Who's really going to challenge Izzy? Who's really going to challenge Usman? That's why. I mean, I hate that boxing has multiple belts, but like for there to be a second, like that baddest motherfucker belt needs to be out there for divisions like this, because there is going to be sometimes you just exist in an era with a guy that is just dominant, but there still needs to be something to keep the division relevant.
Yeah, well, there was a time when the UFC could actually headline a pay-per-view with just a fight between two
Yeah.
big names. They used to not even have numbers next to their name. That used to not even be a
Right.
thing. It used to just kind of be like there was just fights, and if a guy won a few impressively, he might get a title shot. You know what I mean? So I remember there's been multiple UFCs that have been headlined by non-title fights
Yeah.
just between two guys, and maybe they're just trying to get back to that because this is definitely still a big fight, and it really could arguably solve the question of who is the second best guy in the
Yep.
division.
Yep. I agree.
And
I
for
agree.
the record, I agree. Like, I'm dying to see this fight. I'm excited for it. I'm just saying, like, at the same time, I am tired of I don't even know if I believe that they hate each other anymore. I mean, for real. Like,
Oh.
to watch him hug Usman after that fight, and say, "Oh, it's all
Right.
for the bit." They all know. They
Col-
know
I
that
think
that's how you
I think
soak
it's
it
a
and
I
make
think it's
money.
100% a bit for Colby. I don't think it's a bit for Masvidal. I don't. I think if Masvidal saying things like I'm going to put the hatchet in his neck, I think that that's real to him. I don't think that they're ever going to get to a place to where Masvidal is going to be okay with Colby. But if Colby gets smacked around like he did with Usman, he's been proven like if you daddy me, I will give you. I'll show you who I really am. But until then, I'm going to be this obnoxious, arrogant asshole until you can prove you can smack the smile off my face.
Yeah, well, George Masvidal is certainly looking to smack the smile off of his face.
Yeah.
He's definitely looking to do some damage, man.
So what's the outcome look like for you?
Oh man, this is just a really hard fight to call, and I've been kind of the person who, when I decide someone's gonna win, it seems like that's actually the curse.
Yeah, I was gonna say
You have a sterling record on
I was
that
gonna-
end.
So,
Matt's recorded record
it's-
is like
It's more about
30%.
just who I want to put the curse on at this point.
Yeah, who you cursing?
Covington.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think, yeah. So here's how I honestly see it. I think
He's
George.
gonna fuck up the curse. I know it.
Oh man, here we go. So George Masvidal does have really good takedown defense. And
Yeah.
if you see the first Usman fight,
Couldn't get him on the ground. Had to
No,
resort to stepping
no.
on his toes against the cage.
and Usman obviously decided in the second fight that it wasn't even really worth it to spend his time
Mhm.
trying to take him down and a bunch of energy doing that. He just decided to stand with him and use faking takedowns, and he ended up knocking him out. So I definitely think Colby doesn't want to stand with George either. So I do think he's going to try to push him up against the fence and pressure him and do all
Yeah.
that stuff. And if you watch their actual training footage, man, Colby, it was the tale of two cities basically.
Mhm.
George handled Colby on the feet when they trained, and Colby handled George on the ground when they trained. So,
Yeah.
having said that, I definitely I think Colby knows enough moves to put George in some bad positions and tire him out. And George has lost fights like that before. So,
Yep.
I do think I'm going to put the curse on Colby in this one. Having said that, George Masvidal has a ton of knockout power and really good takedown defense. So
I was gonna say, and me and Gabe were talking about this before the show. So before we move on, I wanted to get your sentiment on this piece individually. Part of me feels like this fight may favor Jorge Masvidal because Colby's chin seems to be fading. Ever since that last Kamaru Usman fight, like I know it was kind of more of a wrestling match when he went up against Tyron Woodley. There wasn't a whole lot of striking to be done in that fight, but then to see him get back in the cage and get pieced up again by Kamaru Usman, it's just one of those things where it would not surprise me at all if in the first round we stepped out there and Jorge landed a good one and Colby was out cold. Because and Joe Rogan and other people have talked about this. You can only take so many hits. And he's been in a couple real bad wars now. And the track record seems to be for guys like that who try to stay forever at the top of divisions. At some point, it just goes. Like, take a look at Derek Lewis, right? Like, at some point, it just goes. And you don't have it anymore. And I feel like Colby's like right on the cusp of that.
What does he think about that as a fighter? Like, I mean, is that something that you hear in the gym that, that whole, like, that's what I see anecdotally.
Yeah.
Like, you get knocked out once. It does appear that it.
I definitely think there's a lot of truth to that, but you do still see guys like Andre Arlovsky, Glover Teixeira. I mean, there's a lot of guys just in their mid 30s that are like really peaking.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, I know he's kind of on the slide now, but he was really peaking when he was 33, 34, 35 years old.
Right.
And his chin doesn't appear to be going anywhere, though.
No,
He's still made of cement.
it's just
Yeah.
he's just kind of getting exposed, as far as holes in his style. People are just kind of taking him down and holding him there, and I feel like in winning
His
decisions.
losses did age well, though.
Yeah.
Oliveira and
Oh yeah, Oliveira,
know.
Dariush, all those guys are really, really good.
Yeah.
And Gaethje's a
Right.
freaking
The monster.
So it's almost like he could still be a top 10 guy. We just,
No, yeah. Like I
But
said,
yeah.
I think if you view it like a season and you think, he had a bad season, but next year, if he wins 3 fights in a row, we're going to be talking about a whole different thing.
But if you think you can kick his ass, get out there, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One step at a
Talking
time.
shit about.
I didn't talk shit
I'm
about
joking
anybody.
completely. Yeah.
Tony Ferguson, that guy could literally handle most people with his bare hands, no problem. That's
he
for
could
sure.
beat us just by letting us punch him in the head so long that our hands break and we quit.
Right?
That's fair.
All 3 of us, too. He'd just be like, just keep going, bro. I don't care.
You just got it for days. All right, man. Any final thoughts, Gabe, back there on the UFC fight this weekend?
I want Masvidal to win. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I'm on Masvidal as well. I want to see it. So let us know what you guys think about UFC 272. What are some other fights that you may be excited about? And whose side are you taking? The fake king of Miami or Street Jesus himself from the streets of Miami? And we will get back to you in the comments after the show. From one sport that likes to blacken the eyes of one another to a sport that likes to blacken the eyes of its reputation and its fans in the MLB lockout. We found out just the other day, Gabe, that we're canceling opening day. And it's all due to this bullshit that these people that are being paid way too much money on both sides of the fence to do what it is that they do, destroying the reputation of a sport, not being able to get along.
For the first time ever, I am on no one's side.
Same.
Except my own.
Same.
And as we talked before this, I had that realization that it's like, we're sitting here, they want us to feel bad for the multimillionaires or the billionaires. And at this point, I'm like, you guys are just costing us more money in ticket prices
Yes.
and all that stuff. And it's, yeah.
So the outpricing of ticket, like baseball has to understand that its core fan group and the health of the sport is always going to come from the children who watch baseball and grow up playing baseball. That's how you develop a lifelong fan. But if you go ahead and take a look at what it costs to take a father and son to a baseball game, maybe get a jersey, get his face painted, do the things that I enjoyed doing when I was a kid, it is triple the price now. And here's the issue to it. It's because everybody on both sides of the fence here, whether you are a player or whether you are a owner, they have completely forgotten about actually giving back to the game of baseball. Everybody is in it for themselves and only for themselves. The owners only want to continue to make piles of money and not invest in young talent. And the cascading effect that branches out from that specifically, all of a sudden, players vote down a salary cap. Well, when salaries go up as high as they are, what's going to happen? Ticket prices are going to go up. Well, we can't afford, to have all of our talent make this kind of money when they're, in years 1 through 6. So then we have to have arbitration. Baseball has done everything that it has ever needed to do to make sure that we have gotten to a point in this sport where fans are like, fuck it, I'm just going to leave it. It's not worth it anymore, right? So I think there's definitely blame to be shared on both sides. I think the owners have come a good way on some of the things that they didn't want to budge on initially. Raising minimum salaries to almost $250,000 per year for first-year players is absurd. You haven't proven anything in the majors. You want to make $750,000? That seems a little odd to me, but they're saying they do that because there's service time manipulation. And then there's the whole thing about the DH and pitch timers and bat flipping and unwritten rules and all of this mess. And nobody's giving to. They just want to take from the game. So at what point, at what point as ownership can you no longer be mad at the fans if they step away permanently from the sport because of the damage that you've done to the game? It's insane to me.
It is
absolutely insane.
And yet I don't even know the solution because it's just they're making the money. It's obviously there. It's just as far as economics goes.
Yeah.
It's really odd to say you have to put a cap on when they're making that money. We want them to put it in that product.
Right.
They're not going to lower ticket prices because they're already up at a certain, people don't go backwards on prices, right?
Right.
So it's like, God, it's such a crappy situation.
So my only thought on this, and I
Green
tried my
baseball.
best not to dig into the financials of baseball, right? Because everybody's going to have an opinion. But now that we have canceled opening day, I guess we've got the time to talk about it. So my only thought here on how to handle baseball. Baseball needs to install a floor, a minimum for them to be eligible for some of the benefits that the MLB was willing to budge on, right? So teams like the Minnesota Twins, the Baltimore Orioles, the Kansas City Royals, these teams that have less than $100 million per year on the books, that needs to change, right? Because that is just you agreeing that you are around to take money and not reinvest anything into the franchise to bring the fans that you would need to sign larger talent and make baseball good again, right? So there needs to be like $100 million floor. Now there needs to be maybe a soft cap as well. And I'll get to Mike's comment here in just a second. So leave it up, Gabe. There's also 4 teams above the $200 million mark. So tax the shit out of those teams and everything in tax that goes on above that number. Like if you want to be the Dodgers or the Yankees and spend $250-300 million that specific year, tax it. And that's what goes into the revenue share to help better the game of baseball. That is my thought. That is the only way that I think that it is fixable right now with the expanded playoffs and all of the other things that they want to do. Because then it's also going to put a limiter on some of these players. You know what I mean? You can't. I looked at the numbers for Max Scherzer. He's making over $1 million per start if he makes 33 starts in a season next year. If he alone accounted for every filled seat in Dodger Stadium next year, that's only $670,000. So how many more, beers or jerseys or whatever does he need to sell for it then to be relevant to validate his contract? It's not. They've outpaced the market dramatically and it's affecting the fans, and everybody just needs to go, you know what? Maybe it's time to do something for baseball instead of doing something for ourselves. Awesome.
They're actually going to backslide if our population growth continues to stagnate. They're going to actually be in a huge collapse mode, probably.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Mike comments in, I know the lockout doesn't affect minor league teams like the AAA affiliate of the Twins, the St. Paul Saints. Question, what do you do if you are a bubble guy? Do you request to go play AAA ball just to play? No,
That's a
maybe you just go
smart
play
question.
overseas. Maybe you just go back. Like the Dominicans got a league now. Bryce Harper at 2 a.m. when they decided to cancel opening day had a photoshopped image of himself in a Tokyo jersey posted, the caption was just, "Hey Tokyo, you up?" Like there are going to be players that are going to be like, you know what, this is my prime. I don't get to be this guy forever. Tomorrow isn't promised. I just want to play ball. And some of these guys are going to leave baseball. And then what happens? If they leave and they stay because they get a warmer welcome from another franchise and they don't come back, now you're impacting the product that you're going to get in the future on the field because you've weakened the strength of your farm systems. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Absolutely incredible that this is being allowed to happen. For Rob Manfred, when he stepped in front of the podium to announce that he was going to cancel opening day, and he was asked, what are your what would you say to fans as the commissioner as to why this didn't get done? How far would it have gone? And Gabe, I especially want your opinion. And if you haven't seen the clip, go watch his press conference because it did not come across well the way that he answered it. He kind of shifted the blame. But as the commissioner, how hard would it have been for him to just go, you know what? It's my job as the commissioner to facilitate negotiations between the players that build the game that I run and love and the owners who are the stewards of the game and are responsible for the growth of it from a financial standpoint. I obviously did not do enough to make sure that that was going to be the case. I promise you that I will get this remedied and we will correct course to make baseball what it needs to be. If he shifts the blame and takes it on himself, he gets a ton of love from the media. There are plenty of fans that probably soften their stance on walking away from baseball, and it takes the pressure off the two sides. So maybe they can negotiate while the commissioner himself takes the heat, but instead he did the selfish thing and didn't want to, dive on the grenade to save the platoon. Gabe, what are your thoughts on that?
You're saying that that's what, okay. At first I thought that's what he said.
No.
That doesn't sound bad at all. Okay.
No.
Right. No, again, they are losing. I would watch like 70 Cubs games a summer, full games. And now I'm just like, it's hard to care. They are 23-year-old multimillionaires.
Yep.
They most of them don't even have the best ones don't even have educations because they got drafted out of high school. Like it not that that really matters,
Right.
but you know what I mean. It's like it's so hard to relate at this point.
It is.
It's not America's pastime. Like when the money gets this high, like I don't know what would be America's pastime now.
Football.
I was gonna say like gaming or something like
I
that.
don't know, man, but
Pornhub.
it makes me think about Colby Covington and George Masvidal and what they're going to make this weekend for their fight, and like how it doesn't even come close to scratching the surface of what some guys make to play a baseball game, one baseball game.
Yeah, you step
Yeah.
into the octagon, you could possibly lose your life, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah, it's definitely possible.
you step on a baseball field 162 games a year, and when your shoulder's tight, they sit you for a week. Like,
You cannot
let's
do
get really real.
162 MMA fights per year. Let's just make that clear.
Yeah, and in this tweet right here from Jeff Passan, pretty much just describing all of the things that the MLB's best and final offer was here. No changes to the CBT thresholds, which is that just like the luxury tax, the soft cap that we were talking about, without the revenue share. 2020, 2020, and 2024 as the following years for what that luxury tax threshold would be. Just a $5 million increase on pre-arbitration bonuses from 25 million to 30, and an increase of minimums from 675,000 to 700K, moving up $10,000 per year based on your service time. And then you can see below, if you were watching along with us, what the MLBPA's offer was. Obviously, there's still some ground to make up here, but then, like I said, Rob Manfred doesn't make any sense for him to step to the podium and then go, is this your best and final offer? Are you willing to use impasse as the legal term for that? And him go, well, I don't ever want to use the term best and final. Well, the lady who asked him the question immediately then goes, well, why would the players accept that if that isn't truly your best and final offer? Right? Like, at some point, you just got to draw a line in the sand and say, cross it or don't, move on. Because the longer that this drags out, the more media attention it's going to get, and the more fans are just going to continue to turn away.
No, absolutely, man. I remember when I was watching baseball just as a kid, it was like, yeah, there was a few stars, but for the most part, they seemed like pretty salt of the earth guys. You know what
Right.
I mean? And now it's just not quite what it used to be.
Oh, dude, like Ortiz and Ramirez and Griffey and all of those guys from them, those were relatable guys. They were good for television. Like, yeah, it was a different era of baseball, but baseball was good then. They had a little bit of personality. For the most part, they were pretty freaking clean. You know what I mean? It's like,
I was just watching ESPN Classic the other day, and I
Yeah.
was just watching the Yankees play, somebody in the playoffs. I don't even remember who it was, and it was like 2007. And I was like, man, I hated the Yankees back then, but now it's like, God, they're so likable compared to any team now. Like they were pretty awesome. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Jeter and A-Rod and Doug Mankiewicz, and like they had a bunch of players back then, man.
yeah, it was everybody just trying to get through the 162 game season. And the championship mattered, the playoffs mattered, the pennants mattered. Now it's all about the money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was digging through my 87 Tops collection last night, and I was looking at the players. I was like, I could kick the shit out of every one of these guys almost. They don't even look like athletes.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Talk about relatable. I'd love those guys to come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Me
yeah.
too.
Kirby Puckett, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of sports cards, by the way, stick around because right after this next segment, we are going to crack open one of these Prism cases to see if we can get a rookie card that is signed to give away to y'all. So stay tuned.
Just mind melded.
There
That's
we
what I
go.
was trying to set up.
There we go. And Jeff here says, who are your top players who you are watching in today's NFL Combine? Fantastic. So that'll
What a
push us
coincidence.
right on over to our NFL draft segment, this or that for quarterbacks. But before we get there, let us know what your guys' thoughts are on the MLB lockout. How would you fix it if you were the commissioner of baseball? And are you even going to pay attention if baseball does come back this year? I think that's a legitimate question for a lot of people. We will get back to you either live here on the show, just like you saw right there, or in the comments section after. Now,
I have
Matt,
one fix. I'm sorry.
What?
One quick fix that I just thought of.
what's up?
Expansion.
Yeah, expanding the volume of teams.
Hmm. That would actually dilute the pie a little bit, I think. But
No, or
I gotta
open it
think
up
about
to
that more.
open it up internationally.
That's a good. I was just thinking. That
Open
when
it up
you said that.
internationally. Let the teams for winter ball and stuff in Tokyo and the Dominican Republic and Venezuela, let their best teams, the teams that win their championship or whatever, let them be the ones that come into the MLB and replace the bottom four spending teams locally.
Or even just let them like have a team in in their city
I
and
agree.
let other MLB players from all over the world, just like they sign with every other team,
Yeah.
sign with the Venezuelan whatever,
Yep.
or you know what I mean?
Totally
And
agree.
let us play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, let us play.
I can play center field.
Yeah, yeah. Just an inning.
I can still get maybe 6 pitches out of this shoulder before it gives way on me. I could
Not
face a
me.
batter.
Not me.
So, all right, time to talk about these these potential NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, we'll see.
In a little segment, we're going to call this or that. So I am going to start with a quarterback. We're going to kind of talk about him a little bit. You might see some highlights from Gabe up on the screen. We'll talk about his strengths, maybe a little bit of his weaknesses, and then we'll compare him to another guy in his draft class. And Matt, you're just going to tell me, do you want this or do you want that if you're an NFL franchise moving into the 2022 season? And we can start with Pittsburgh's Kenny Pickett. A lot of BS being said already about his hand size. He plays in Pittsburgh. It's cold and rainy there, and he didn't have a turnover issue in college, so I don't foresee him really having one in the NFL. 49 starts, so he is a guy that definitely has experience under center, in all sorts of situations and has proven to be semi-successful. But there were some reports from yesterday, evident by Paul Allen, that there were some character issues with him in some of his interviews. What are your thoughts on Kenny Pickett?
I think if you just look at the tape of all of the college quarterbacks this year, I think Kenny Pickett is pretty clearly, if not the most impressive, top 3 most impressive.
I think he's the most pro-ready
I think,
guy.
well, there's definitely arguments about that. But when I look at him, I see, Justin Herbert, people like that. I see a guy that I feel like he could step in to the right team and take over and be, a solid guy in a year or two.
Yeah, he's a guy. He's got a little bit of mobility. Like he's the jack of all trades but master of none
Yeah.
kind of guy. To
Good-
me,
good
is kind of how
size.
it seems. Good size, good speed, good decision making. Doesn't seem to panic when the play breaks down. Keeps his eyes downfield. Has an average arm and is pretty accurate, but not deadly accurate. So like, I don't know. He's a good option, right? Like if he has another gear, you've hit the lottery. If he doesn't, you've got a guy that you can start for the next 5 years, be pretty solid or satisfied with, and then draft his replacement.
Yep, exactly. He could end up being another Justin Herbert or another Jameis Winston or something like that.
Exactly.
I mean, that's kind of how I see him. Obviously, the hype isn't there of a Jameis Winston, which is going to only help him, in my
Right.
opinion. You know
Right.
what I mean?
The expectation thing does
Yep.
matter.
I think all these guys actually have a pretty good chance of being a good quarterback, and I think a big part of that is there is no. It's so funny to think about, but Johnny Manziel, there is no. You know what I
Right.
mean? There's no big name that everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's gonna fix our team." You know what I mean?
Well, I think
So,
there's one, and we'll get to him down the list because there's a guy that I'm standing on the table
All
for
right.
this year in the quarterback position. But let's
I'm
talk
excited.
Kenny Pickett versus Matt Corral. Coming out of Ole Miss. Now, he's the one that's coming off that pretty nasty ankle injury from that bowl game, I believe. Was in a pretty predominantly RPO system, so there isn't a whole lot of. He has some of the same questions that like a Jalen Hurts had coming out with the way that they ran that offense. And he just seems to not be getting the. I don't know if he's not getting the respect that he deserves, or if people have already kind of got him pegged as a very limited option at the quarterback position.
I've actually been hearing through the grapevine that he is the most pro ready guy.
Okay.
Mentally, he's really there. Apparently, he's gonna be a guy who's gonna show up and plug into a team like the Carolina Panthers or something like that.
Okay.
Ideally, and run his RPO system every once in a while, throw it deep. Have a little bit of mobility. Like I think there's a lot of teams that are going to be looking for that recipe. Actually,
I think he'd be a good fit in a place that's getting rid of a veteran quarterback that still thinks that maybe under a rookie deal with a few other free agents can still maybe go. Like if Russ leaves Seattle, Matt Corral would be a great fit in Seattle.
exactly. That's why I said Carolina too, because I think that they're still trying to run it that Baylor type. You know what I mean? On
Right.
the system. So I think he would fit that pretty well.
Only real knock on him though is outside the pocket seems pretty stiff. Does draw some Kirk Cousins level comparisons. Like he's got the athleticism, but he doesn't really know how to use it. Is that something that you can develop?
I think that it's obviously he's never going to be Lamar Jackson.
Right.
But, if you look at guys like even like Joe Burrow, who they say is the worst at sliding in the world, but I think he's definitely getting better at it, and I think Matt Corral or Coral is it Coral?
Corral.
I definitely think he can bring Derek Carr as Pickett's ceiling. I was gonna say Corral actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Derek Carr, but I
Yep.
think that's also a good
Comparison.
Yeah.
All right. So question now is it this or that? Would you take Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral?
I think the tape says take Kenny Pickett.
All right. We got one vote for Pickett.
History and has shown that guys like Pickett have done better in the league than Matt Corral.
Fair enough. And we will get to Malik here in a minute there, Dylan. But the next quarterback on this list is going to be Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. Now, I think he's actually one of the most intriguing prospects in the draft this year. You don't often see a lot of teams from, I'm going to call it middle Division I schools. Like, I guess they're probably upper middle because there's quite a few college teams out there. But like a Cincinnati, be able to get into positions that they got into. Now they claim that there may be some accuracy issues with Desmond Ridder, but for all intents and purposes, a great locker room guy, somebody that people can get behind, a guy who's not going to make the wrong decision with the football, maybe limited physically in some other areas, but is a guy that I think if you're looking for that leadership piece, you got the rest of the other pieces right, and you're just looking for somebody to be the glue that holds it all together for you to make a run. That might be Desmond Ridder coming out of Cincinnati.
I think Desmond Ridder he strikes me as a guy, for example, the Minnesota Vikings could think about. Because, like, if we're going to have another guy be our starter for the next year or two, man, he could really benefit from being on the bench and just developing and becoming a guy that could step in and, like you said, especially in a place like Minnesota, just be that glue man.
Yep.
We need a guy like that. I think Kirk Cousins, one of the few things that he is lacking, because he's got a lot of things going for him as a quarterback, is that glue man. I just don't think he brings everybody together like that.
He doesn't seem to have that fire that just that everybody wants to huddle around, right? Like that it thing, right?
Yeah.
Desmond Ridder seems like he could have a little bit of that with what he was able to do in Cincinnati. Jeff.
Sorry. I was going to say the last guy doesn't seem like he'd scream, "You like that?" after a game.
Yeah, probably not.
That's what we're looking for.
Probably not.
Well, despite his other flaws as a quarterback, what I was just thinking is Baker Mayfield, man, he really is that glue for the Cleveland Browns.
100%.
People are behind him, even if he makes a lot of mistakes.
And he is a shitty quarterback, but he seems to
he
seems to have the locker room on lock.
If Kirk Cousins had that it factor, I think he would be a lot,
That is not an endorsement for Baker in Minnesota, by the way. Don't even. I will stab you with this pen.
I'd be curious. That's all.
Jeff comments in, Jeff Ridder is my favorite quarterback in the whole draft. I will be watching him closely today, have him going in the first round. Definitely a tail end of first round guy for me. But is it this or that? Desmond Ridder or Kenny Pickett?
I think I'm going to go ahead and go with Desmond Ridder on that.
Ooh,
he's got a little bit of higher ceiling.
I'm going to stick it with Pickett on that one. You've got Desmond Ridder as pretty much your number one quarterback so far. The next one will be Sam Howell on the list. Now, this one's interesting because coming into this year, I feel like there was a lot of push behind him. Like he was supposed to be the guy that we mentioned earlier, like the Herbert, like coming out, you're like, that's the guy that I know that's going to lead the franchise, got all the physical tools. And then it just seems like it faded heavily this year. What do you think happened and why?
I think a lot of times pressure gets to these guys in college, man.
Yeah.
And, you see it all the time where a guy has a great sophomore year and then he comes back for his junior year and the team isn't as good.
Well, there's more tape on him,
or
too.
His coach left or there's more tape on him or, a lot of things can happen that just make a guy start to fade. Do I think that really affects his NFL, possibilities? A little bit. It could affect his place in the draft, but he's definitely going to go to a team and he's definitely going to get a chance. So,
NC quarterbacks that play at North Carolina all seem recently to fit the same mold to me. And I look at Sam Howell and I see Mitch Trubisky. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, go ahead, draft him. But there's probably going to be other guys in this draft that if you pick him at the top of the board, the rest of the teams are pointing their finger going, you picked him over Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the vibe I get. I think everybody wanted to see Sam Howell make that large next step this year, and it never came. So people were just sitting on their hands.
Do you think he could fall to the second round?
I think he could fall out of the second round. Honestly, depending on how a lot of these other quarterbacks perform, if he doesn't, they're not doing the Wonderlic this year, which that's going to impact some teams' abilities to evaluate the mentality of some of these quarterbacks. I could see him fall all the way out of the second round.
Wow. It's gonna definitely be interesting to find out. I think he's still got a. I definitely think he could still be a legitimate NFL quarterback. I mean, he's got a good arm. He's got some scrambling ability. All these guys now, I think, are really kind of trying to fit that mold of QB 2.0. You know, nobody's just trying to do one thing anymore. Everybody's trying to be mobile.
Yep.
Everybody's trying to, have the big arm. So
Yeah, and I can tell that our resident quarterback is just typing away at his keyboard in the comments section over there. Mike, we hope you're feeling all right. He comments in and says, Howell crumbled being a top prospect. He's got the Spencer Rattler gene. Wouldn't draft him unless I was tanking for Tua. Tua, I think, is a good comparison for Sam Howell as well. And yeah, you're right. I think, the Mensings agree here. Pressure is what got to him. And if you're looking to win a Super Bowl, you got to take that into account.
And I don't think a team that's going to actually be ready to win a Super Bowl is going to take Sam Howell. I mean, maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers or somebody like that takes a chance on him, but man, I think I could easily see the Pittsburgh Steelers being a 6-win team next year or something like that.
So. So Sam Howell or your guy Desmond Ridder.
Man, I think Desmond Ridder is definitely going to he was in a worse environment and he shined more.
Okay. So, Sam Howell or Kenny Pickett, which was your number 2 guy?
I think Kenny Pickett's going to prove to be a more consistent guy.
Yeah, see, I got Sam Howell pretty much. And I don't even know, like, there's another guy on this list, like Carson Strong. I look at him and I go, God, I would almost take Carson Strong over taking Sam Howell at this point. It's been that bad. And that is the next guy on the list. Carson Strong from Nevada. Now, I don't know a whole lot about him. Seems to be one of the bigger bodies, the only true, like, I guess, statuesque passer in this draft class. Does that alone and his acumen as a passer move him ahead of some of these mobile guys who may be the jack of all trades, but may not develop into a true striker as a quarterback?
It should be interesting. It's been a long time since they had a guy from it kind of makes me think of that classic West Coast, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guy, like that Rodgers, big arm, you know what I mean? So it's definitely going to be interesting to see who wants to develop a pure passer anymore. I feel like a lot of teams are almost moving on from that idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody wants a guy who can run at least a 4.7 or something like that, 4.8.
Yeah. This wouldn't be a bad idea if Pittsburgh wants to go with the bigger body guy, maybe emulate some of what Ben did. I think this wouldn't be a horrible idea depth-wise as a pick for a team like New Orleans. I think Carson Strong is a good option if you want to go with perimeter weapons and kind of retooling that defense and that offensive line, as you're going to be in some cap trouble the next couple of years. You can let him sit, while, if you can get Taysom Hill back or Jameis Winston back and run that for one more year, like, this is a guy that would really benefit from being in that system, have him be ready for when Sean Payton returns and build an offense around him specifically. But he, to me, seems like a 3rd-round guy, firmly.
I agree with you, and I do think he's going to end up with a team sort of like the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that is already not dependent on a quarterback.
On a mobile quarterback.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last one on the list. This is the guy I'm standing on the table for this year. This is the guy that if the Vikings want to go after a quarterback, they go after this quarterback, Malik Willis from Liberty. Now, I have already heard all of this BS about him not being quick twitch on the whiteboard from guys like Paul Allen on the show the other day. But then there are other camps that come out and say, well, geez, he went through these interviews and he seems to be lighten these interviews up. Some people say that he's got accuracy issues and his size is an issue. Well, then you watch him at the Senior Bowl and you see him rolling away from his body, flipping his hips and making a touch pass, dropping it into a bucket on a tight end 20 yards down the field. He's not big enough to be a mobile quarterback. Well, he started all of his games last year and he was a rushing threat all over the place. This is the raw talent that you come to get, in my opinion.
I totally agree with you, man. I think it's been far too long since the Vikings actually took a chance on a quarterback. Even when we took Teddy Bridgewater, I almost felt like it was a sort of a consolation prize. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't going to go all out. We traded back up, for the last pick in the first round and got Teddy B. And he panned out for a couple of years. But, man, I think this could be our version of a Lamar Jackson in Minnesota. And if we actually take the time and develop this kid, man, he could be the guy to put us over the top. I really could see that absolutely happening.
And he's got I look at him and I see a lot of Trey Lance. Like, I look at his game, the way that he plays, physical. He plays bigger than he probably stands at. He's got the biggest arm in this draft class by a mile. And if you can tidy up some of the accuracy stuff, like Kevin Oak, like, you look at him And just from an athleticism standard, I don't think that the ability to break the pocket and make plays for him is much different than what he had in Matt Stafford last year. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that lead me to believe that a Malik Willis, Kevin O'Connell offense would be dangerous. Like for him to get in with Wes Phillips and work that system. All signs point to success if that's your guy.
Honestly, when I look at this kid, I see Philadelphia Eagles Randall Cunningham.
Yeah.
That's truly what I see. He might not have
Philadelphia Eagles. You
yeah.
mean Minnesota Vikings, 15-1, 1998?
There we go.
That was a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but that guy might have had like 74 speed in Madden. You know what I mean? With Philadelphia Eagles, we're talking like, you know what I mean, a guy who can run a 4.4. You know what I mean? And he's your QB, and he's a legit passer, and he can, you know, thread and needle.
I agree.
But
With
he
that
can also
slow release too.
But
It
he
was
can
awesome.
also.
I loved his slow release.
Just look at the arm. Look
absolutely,
at the arm, and that's in a bucket, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And man, when you look at the way he can scramble away in you know, like I said, Randall Cunningham-esque, you know, it's crazy. It's not like it's even pure athleticism. It's not like he's just whoop like
It
Lamar
seems
Jackson.
to me
Like he's like, no, I just don't want to go down.
It seems like he's got a little bit of that Russell Wilson magic. Like he's always just kind of like, you can't hit me because I'm back here, and then he gets the throw off, and you're like, fuck, whatever.
Man, could we use a guy like that on our team?
And I think that's what would put Minnesota over the top after all of this time. Now, I think the only way that the Vikings probably go up and get him is if we go, all right, Kirk is not willing to negotiate. We got to unload him, and we need a quarterback. But if he falls, or if there's an opportunity to kind of get back into the first round, somebody wants to trade out or whatever, because there's a lot of depth at the back end of this draft for edge rushers and corners. And if the Vikings want to take advantage of that to come up and get the quarterback with somebody who wants to shift back, we have multiple later round picks. You know what I mean? So make that happen. Like think about Baltimore. Perfect example. Baltimore didn't need a lot in that draft where they got Lamar Jackson. They had Joe Flacco still, who they thought was a serviceable starter. They got their first round pick. They waited, and they went, I want 5 years with that guy, not 4, so we can get the 5th year option as long as we draft him in the first round. Let me trade with, oh my God, why am I blanking on who won the Super Bowl? Let me trade with the Rams, who have their quarterback, because there's a relationship there between McVay and Kevin O'Connell. Oh, there it is. At 32, trade with the Rams. They don't have a first round pick, do they? Son of a bitch. Whoever's at 32.
I was gonna say the Rams don't have a pick for like 3 years.
For 3 years. But like, or the Bengals, who are going to be picking at 31. They've got Joe Burrow. They don't need a quarterback. Like, okay, let them trade back, get the depth on the offensive line that they need, pick Malik Willis up at the very end of the first round, and move forward that way.
Man, could you imagine the read options with Malik Willis and Dalvin Cook?
Or Alexander Madison.
Or
his ability to stretch the field with Justin Jefferson on true deep routes, or thread it in there over the middle to a guy like KJ Osborne or Adam Thielen, and he'll have Irv Smith, and all of a sudden the center doesn't seem like such a big issue because now you've got mobility in the backfield at the quarterback position. Like the perfect fit.
Now I'm just worried about our defense holding up, man.
The perfect fit. That's what it is to me, is Malik Willis. I'm taking him over everybody. Is there anybody in this class that you would put him behind?
Absolutely not. No, he's the guy, which kind of is the one thing that scares me about him, because it's going to be really hard to get him in the draft.
I would agree. I'm interested to see him throw. All right. Dylan Austin says, absolutely love Malik Willis. My Malik Willis comparison is Dante Culpepper. Call me crazy. And I don't think that's a crazy comparison.
No, I think there are some striking similarities there. Obviously not body size,
but the style of play.
Yeah, definitely. The way that they kind of scramble around in the backfield, that big arm, man. Oh, Dante Culpepper was nasty back in the day, bro.
Before the knee injury, he was the guy.
Yeah,
he was the guy.
There was a time when he was slinging it to Randy Moss. There was, oof.
I'm going to kick it to Gabe just real quick, because he's always got the best, like, old school football references. What do you got? I mean, can you draw a comparison for Malik Willis?
Well, I'm all hopped up on this Dante Culpepper thing. I'm extremely excited about this. Dylan Austin has made me love Malik Willis now, because I did not see that, and I love Dante Culpepper, even with his little baby hands. And
he never really had a fumbling issue in Minnesota, though. It wasn't until he started to play in outdoor stadiums late in the year where he started to have fumbling issues.
Oh, when you say in Minnesota, you mean at our stadium?
Yeah.
But he
played indoors, yeah.
But yeah,
and that helps. The elements help.
Of course, it helps. I'm just saying, in the NFL, you play outdoors a lot.
And
in the cold.
But if you're a good enough team, you play at home in the playoffs. And if you're a fast team, you want to be inside.
And who did we lose to? Dante Culpepper's best year in the NFC Championship?
Wasn't it? Was it Packers?
I believe it was the Giants at the Giants, and I believe they beat us like
48-0.
Yeah, at MetLife, and it was like, oh well, maybe you can't play outside in the cold.
I was hungover and I
true.
thought I dreamt it.
Man,
I woke up, I was like, "There's no way," because we were gonna be competitive.
Yeah.
But
exactly, and there hasn't been anything that shocking to me other than that, like other than the Eagles, of course, beating us 37-7.
We don't talk about that on this show.
Because we looked so good on that first drive.
We're not going to talk about it.
Oh well,
It happened.
Let it be.
Yep.
Mike Zimmer's
But-
gone. Rest in peace.
Yep.
By the way, I just want to
Pieces.
say before we move on to
Yeah.
the next segment, if any of the my fans are wondering why I didn't weigh in on these quarterbacks, it's because I don't judge quarterbacks. I'm one of those talent guys who I don't assess them until I see pictures of them with their shirts off at the combine.
Okay, fantastic. So Gabe is excited. He will be he'll have a bottle of Lubriderm and tissues on his couch watching the Underwear Olympics.
So
later
whoever
this
looks
afternoon.
most like Tom Brady.
I didn't say that. I was just, it's not a sexual thing. It's just a primal.
It's
It's a
something.
primal thing.
No, I know.
It
Gabe's
dovetails with my fighting thing.
Primal and sexual are like,
Gabe's
I
so,
can't tell the difference.
so
Yeah,
Gabe's
exactly.
analysis comes from when he sees them with their shirts off. Does Gabe think he could beat them in a fight? If he could beat them in a fight, they're not worthy of top level money as a quarterback.
That is correct.
Tom
If a
Brady,
If I
that's all
can
I
beat
can
up
say.
a pro level athlete, don't draft him.
All right. Let us know what
golf,
you guys.
a lot of golfers you could probably take, man. I'll be honest with you,
Mm-mm.
and they can.
Not the
kidding
new
me?
era ones.
I was gonna say
They're
Phil.
jacked
Even
now.
even Phil Mickelson with them calves would kick Gabe's head off.
Yeah.
I got yelled at by Tiger Woods once at the Accenture match play
Nice.
for eating chips. Like I walked up, I was hungover with 2 bags of like potato chips, and I look up and they all have their hands up, and I was getting glared at by like 30 people.
I love
and
it.
Tiger's sitting there. It was great.
love it.
That's
Sorry.
so funny.
I love it. All right. Well, let us know what you guys think on these potential NFL franchise changing quarterbacks. Who are you banging on the table for? Who do you think is going to be an absolute bust? And what order or what round do you think they're going to go in? We can get to you, as
Holy
always,
Willis.
here on the show or in the comments afterwards. And yeah, we'll get to the cards here in a second. Dylan comments in. He says, we have 3 first-round picks, and I'm already guaranteeing we trade one of them back. That's just how Howie Grossman works. Oh, he's talking about
The Eagles.
the Eagles.
Yes, they're very lucky to have those 3 picks. Man, that's gonna be nice for you guys.
Trade one of them back to Minnesota. We'll take Malik Willis with that pick.
Yeah, we'll take them.
Bingo. All right, Gabe, are you ready for the segment that you've been wanting to get to here with the card opening? I know Gabe's a big card guru, big time collector from his childhood here.
Only from the junk wax era.
Okay,
But
that's
I
fair.
I do have a deep appreciation for baseball cards. So yeah, can we say once again, just to introduce this segment,
Yep,
what the brand is, tell them like kind of how expensive these are, because these are fancy cards.
these are. So this is this
Mine were
goes
50 cents a pack.
This goes retail at about a $700 box right here, folks. Okay, these are Panini Prism rookie cards for the NFL. There are 5 autographed cards in this pack. So what we are going to do is we are going to give them away. I'm going to go ahead and open 1 pack each of the next 5 weeks, and then to win one of these cards, all you have to do is go to our Facebook page and share the episode or the clip if you see it on TikTok. And then the following week, join us live and we will draw a name from that shares list to see who's going to win the card. There are some cards in here, rookie cards like Trevor Lawrence, that are worth a lot of money, folks. So I want to do something nice.
Yeah,
Something
how
nice
about
for the
this?
fans.
Let's try to build the pressure. What is
Yeah.
the top card?
I believe
Or
the top.
like the top 3 cards.
I believe the top cards in here right now would be like Trevor Lawrence, who is in this year's rookie class. Zach Wilson is in here. If you're a Jets fan, Justin Fields is in here. Jamar Chase would be in here as an
Ooh,
autographed
Jamar
rookie card.
Chase.
Okay, so there are some. Najee Harris.
Got a good
Oh,
Justin Jefferson card? Would that be worth anything?
There might be one in here. This is a rookie pack, so it's going to be a lot of rookies.
I
right? So
Najee
the
Harris,
autographs.
man.
Najee Harris would be a good pick. Najee Harris would be
dude,
a
that
good
guy's
pick.
about to be the next best running back in the league for the next 5 years. I
All right,
promise.
so we're gonna let Matt help out here. Just close your eyes, randomly reach in there, take out a pack, man. Whichever one you think is best.
Well, hey Nick, just
There you
let
go.
you know we have the cameras set in certain spots.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
to remember.
I got you. We're gonna come over to it right now. All right, you got me over here. So this was the pack for this week. We'll probably put the box back up here, huh, for a little bit of advertising. Bingo. All right, so here we go. I'm hoping for you guys that this is gonna be something special, something real special.
Me too. I picked him.
All right, here we go.
And the people have to share
Yep.
the episode or clips from it.
Well, so on TikTok it'll be the clips.
Okay.
right?
Anything basically.
Right? And then on Facebook it'll be the episode itself. All right. So there we
Do
go.
they
So
get credit for multiple shares before we
yes,
do this?
yes, you do. So
Okay.
as many times as you can share it is as many entries as you will get. We'll draw out of a spinning wheel with ping pong balls or a hat or something next week.
I'm going to throw one last minute caveat on that.
Absolutely.
They have to share it with text.
Yes,
They can't
absolutely.
just do a naked share. You got to write
Absolutely.
something nice.
Well, here we'll do this. Tell me what card in the pack you'd want to win. Like what rookie card are you looking most forward to? Even if it doesn't come out of this pack, which one out of the box would be the best one to draw for you?
Yeah. Say,
right?
give me that Burrows with the post.
That's right. That's right. All right. So first one we got here is a Duke Daniel Jones card.
Ooh,
Okay. Ooh,
Dan the man.
little Alabama Derrick Henry right there. I'm
What?
going to move my hand this way. There we go. Oh, here it is. I believe this is it, folks.
This a jersey card?
Yep.
Whatever.
Oh no. Here we go.
God,
Ooh,
looks
I don't
pretty
even know
thick.
that guy's name. Marlon.
Tupula.
Gabe's gonna have to look up the appropriate spelling on this one for me. But there's your autographed card for this week, folks.
Marlon Tuipulatu.
There we go.
I'm a big fan.
All right. Then we've got Tyreek Hill rookie card
Oh man.
or college card right there. Ooh, Chase Young. Little holograph card with an insert on it. Elijah Mitchell. Oh, my finger's in the way there. Is one of them. Ooh, Emir Smith Marset. There's a Viking for you. And the last one would be Kenneth Gainwell. So, folks, if you want to win the Marlon Tuipololo card, all you got to do is head on over to any of our social channels where this is clipped or on Facebook, the episode itself. Go ahead and share. The card that you're looking most forward to for the next couple of weeks. We will be doing this for the next 5 weeks, and next week live here on the show, we will draw to give this card away and to show that we're going to go ahead and protect it for you. Got a nice little case in there for you. We'll go ahead and set that up right there, and then we'll just lean it up against the box for the rest of the show, so that way you can see it and know what you're going to win. And we'll open another pack next week.
Look at this absolutely tasteless comment on screen. Aaron Hernandez or Ray Caruth cards.
Oh, come on now.
There should though be a Vikings love boat card.
There should be. Well, we've got a Viking. Does that count? Amir Smith Marset. Little Chase Young action over here too.
And for the record, I actually like his comment.
I don't know what I would do. What would you do with an Aaron Hernandez rookie card?
Dude, I don't know, but that guy was a monster back in the day.
It'll have
No
long-term
pun
value,
intended.
I bet.
Dude, he was a freak. He was so good at football, man. I
bet
mean,
it'll
take
hold.
all that other stuff aside, he was unbelievable to
I
watch.
mean, yeah,
he was a very entertaining player to watch.
Absolutely. I mean, you could probably trade his rookie card for a pack of cigarettes and some lotion in the house.
I don't know. I might just, he probably wouldn't be worth too much anymore, unfortunately. But man, there was a time where he was on his way to the top.
Fantastic.
The only parallel for that card wise,
Yeah.
like a murder one, is one that I have, the Mark Jackson 90 hoops rookie card with the Menendez brothers in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You
Yeah,
can't
they
tell
were
me
sitting courtside.
you can't tell me a rookie freaking juice card isn't gonna be able to sell
Ooh,
though.
yeah, that's true.
Just saying.
Little juice.
Wow. I hope
All
Bo
right.
Jackson kills someone.
Oh, stop it.
Well, my collection.
Stop
would
it.
go just
Yeah, it would
down.
go through the roof.
Ray
Right?
Lewis card probably still doing pretty well too. Just saying.
Oh, Ray Lewis cards do pretty well.
And he had his issues, so
He killed the guy.
Stab.
yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly. So what'd you think, Gabe? How'd that go? You like the way that panned out? We gonna have to make any adjustments for next week?
I want to run in there and look at those cards, but yeah, no, I think it's really. Cool.
I'll bring them out to you after the show.
I'm
so that
nervous
way-
for you opening a $700 box of cards.
Yeah, I know, right? That's
Yeah.
why there's no fluids on the table. All right. Well, folks, you know the rules. I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to win it. We'll give it away next week. So we can move on now to our Wild Wolf Watch, where we take a look in at our winter sports teams as they make their playoff pushes both of them out of or into their playoff run at this point in the season after the All-Star break. And we can start with the Minnesota Wild. Matt, have you been watching the hockey team?
I have, and unfortunately, I feel like we're about to have our end of the season slump that we often have.
Yeah, this seems like a trend for
Yeah.
the Minnesota Wild.
It seems like we're good. Everyone's like, man, the Wild are good. We're in first. We're looking good. And then we lose 4 straight, like we have in the last 4 games. And it just starts to make me wonder, like, is it just a tough 4 games, or are we going down that path that we've gone down, 3 out of the last 5 years, where
Yeah.
at the end of the season, we just take a dump?
Yeah, just take a dump.
Maybe we are losers.
Yeah,
Right?
no,
Yeah.
I
it's
definitely think we're a B+ level team, and not an A+ level team. You know what I mean? I think we're really good. We have a lot of pieces, but unfortunately, man, I'm just worried that we're gonna do what we do.
yeah, and so Dean Evison has kind of mentioned this in some of his press conferences over the last couple of games, right? Like where physicality seems to be the issue. And I think that's just due to straight size. Like I was listening to John Hamm and some other people talk about hockey over the last couple of weeks, and the frequented sentiment of these individuals was that as it gets later in the year, the guys that play big, strong, tough, physical, wear you down hockey, those teams last. And
Absolutely.
if you look at, even last year, what our issue was with Vegas and what, the issues we've had with Vegas has been their size and physicality. And now with Matt Dumba, who, even though he may not be the largest guy on the ice, right, may be a tone setter physically, and with Greenway out, who is, as a blue line or a wing level scorer, our true size in front of the net, we really do suffer on all of our other lines trying to cover down for those deficiencies, and just seem like we're spinning our tires in the mud.
Unfortunately, there are all the top teams that I was referencing earlier, those A+ level teams, they have those big players, and they're
Yeah,
nasty. They're physical players. The Tampa Bay Lightning, physical players. The Bruins, physical players. You know what I mean? Like they're tough teams. And
they are.
unfortunately, I just worry we might get past the first round of the playoffs. You know what I mean? We
Mhm.
might we might get the Blues or the Avalanche or somebody like that. I guess they're actually doing pretty well now too, aren't they? But
Yeah,
somebody that we can beat, it's definitely possible. But man, I just feel like as you get later in the playoffs, where you just need a couple, you need an Ovechkin, you need something that's gonna push you over in those tough games, man.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to me, and it's Mike is right. The Wild are a team that does rely on that speed, and the amount of games that we've had to play because of the style of team that we are was going to be an issue. Now, if you look at somebody like the St. Louis Blues and you go and you put them on this schedule, it's probably a little bit different because they don't play that same style of hockey.
No.
We exert a lot of energy to score goals and kind of be this high powered offense. You know what I mean? Like you see it with the Kansas City Chiefs every once in a while. Sometimes when they play the Raiders, with the way that the Raiders run the ball downhill, they just get bullied into a bad situation. And that's what the Wild are experiencing right now.
Yep, and you just have to work even all that much harder when you're that style of a team. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Those other big teams don't have to work so hard for every little thing. They're just gonna beat you up, beat you up, beat you up, pass, snipe, score.
Yep. Dangle Snipe Selly.
Exactly.
Crazy stuff like that.
Forecheck, back check, paycheck, buddy.
Hey, I like
Exactly.
that. I like
Exactly.
I've
Matt
never heard
over
that.
here
I
with
like
a
that.
gem. With a gem. Say it one more time for the folks.
Forecheck, back check, paycheck, buddy.
There we go. There we go. All right. So the upcoming schedule for the Minnesota Wild when you have a second there, Gabriel.
Coming right up, sir. I'm actually having a little trouble with the thingy.
I mean, put your thingy away. We're in the middle of the show.
You're not
Good
on there, but
Lord.
you're all right. Just keep doing your job.
I don't have the schedule in front of me, so we can play some
Here's-
Jeopardy
yeah,
music.
it's
Actually,
coming up.
here, I'll take a sip and just slow my roll.
Well, we could comment that guy. I don't know, that guy with those tasteless comments is being funny again. He had another good one.
Dylan.
Dylan, yeah, he's on fire today.
Yeah, he always seems to be cocked, locked, and ready to rock Doc for the show.
It's nice of him.
I didn't know that you had to make it sexual like that, though. Here we go.
Bingo. All right. So coming off of our Canadian road trip, where we faced a lot of teams north of the border, the Calgary Flames. Actually, was that last night? Which day of the week are we on here? It's the 3rd. So we'll have the Philadelphia Flyers on the road tonight, and then in a back-to-back with the Buffalo Sabres before we get a day off and come home to square off against Dallas and the New York Rangers. And then that'll be the 4 games that we have before we see you guys again prior to the Detroit Red Wings game in that dumpster fire of a franchise next week. Mike, sorry, I knew it. I knew I was going to do it at least once. Matt, what are your thoughts on the 4-game stretch that the Minnesota Wild have coming up?
I definitely think we have a good chance to turn it around. Philadelphia at Philadelphia is obviously a tough game. We
Yep.
should be able to beat Buffalo. I definitely think Dallas is a winnable game. The Rangers are tough, of course.
But we've proven that we can beat them at home already this
Yep,
season.
no,
Right?
at home we're a different team, man. When you go to a Wild game, you feel it. It's like going to a Vikings game. Like you realize you're like, oh my God, we have a home field advantage. We are definitely a legitimate, we have a home ice advantage with the Wild for
Oh,
sure.
it's the state of
But
hockey, my friend.
I think that kind of brings us more up to level with the Rangers, though, as opposed to being better than them.
Yeah.
If we were playing them in New York, I would count us out, basically.
Okay,
That's what I'm
so
saying. And
looking
then-
for a 3-1 then.
And then Detroit, obviously, we're gonna smash. I feel like
Well,
they've
there's-
had their good years and stuff like that, but
Their game will be after our show next week.
okay,
So,
gotcha.
We're all good on the 3-1 is what we got for the Minnesota Wild, and I would tend to agree with you. I think 2-2 is as low as you can go. If you slip to a 1-3 record, it's time to panic a little bit because now you're going to start to worry about your playoff seedings and who you're going to be playing in the first round. Worrying about, are we going to get Greenway back in time? Are we going to get Dumpa back in time? So you got to start to worry about the matchups that you're going to play. Are you going to lose home ice or something of that, of that ilk? So 3-1, 2-2 at the absolute worst. At 1-3, if we're sitting here next week and we went 1-3 on this stretch, me and the rest of Minnesota hockey are going to have a very stern conversation about the Minnesota Wild.
Honestly, the only way I even see that happening is if we either lose to Buffalo, which I don't see happening, or if we lose 2 games in a row at home, which, I mean, man, then we would really be in a slump because we've already lost 4. So
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. And it's weird to see because you look at a Dean Evison led team. How often do you ever see us lose 3 games in a row? Hardly ever. But now it seems to be more and more frequent now.
it's just a Wild thing. I don't think it has anything to do with him, unfortunately. I think Minnesota teams have a thing about them, and it's going to take something really
Wild thing.
wild thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
I do think it's a Minnesota team thing. We all have sort of our trends, and one of the Wilds is, right around March, they just start to kind of fall apart a little
Peter
bit.
out.
Unfortunately, yeah, it
It's-
seems like it.
It's tough. It is tough. Well, everybody put in the comment section, how many wins are we going to get over the next 4 games and how many more losses over these next 4 games before the Minnesota Wild have to start to panic when looking at their playoff positioning? And we will get back to you either in the comments after the show or on the show live, like this comment right here. Mike says, Wild are a team that relies on their speed, the amount of games that we've played. This is a repeat comment there, Gabe.
Well,
Jeez,
he's
jeez.
repeating
Although it's a good
himself. He's
point.
totally unoriginal.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, Mike, we saw it. Jeez.
He's
Yeah.
out of ideas, dude.
Wow. Goes to show who the creative one on the show is here, huh?
Hey,
Matt.
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking me. Yeah.
And then we can kick on over to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Playing well.
Yeah, no, I'm satisfied with the way that they're playing.
I don't think there's any reason to be concerned. Ant's offense has kind of gone by the wayside since the All-Star break, which I'm sure that he will correct that. He hasn't been as potent as he normally is scoring the basketball. But the other guys have stepped up, and that has been encouraging. Like I was watching the end of that Golden State game the other night where Cat just took it over late. Now, of course, Golden State's down a bunch of guys, but if that's the case, Mike says it all the time. If there's a good team that's in a bad spot, you should do bad things to them. And that's what, the Wolves were able to do minus their floor general, right? D'Lo scores a lot of points. Cat looks good in the pick and roll. McDaniels and Vanderbilt only continue to look like they're growing into their roles as the dominant, fringe players for the Wolves. McLaurin's playing well. It's been a good run, and it's been encouraging to see.
One of the things that you really need out of a basketball team with an 82-game schedule is to win the winnable games. That's
Yeah.
such an important thing. Not every game on your schedule is going to be a game that you're really expecting to win. Sometimes you're down a few players. Sometimes it's just a really tough team and you're on a bit of a skid and you're playing them at their house, whatever it may be. But, man, if you just win the winnable games, a lot of times you can end up with a pretty decent spot, and that's what the Wolves have been doing this year, and that's why I'm happy with them. If it was any other team, I'd say, yeah, they're okay, but since it's the Wolves, I'm like, man, we're coming together. We're doing what we need to do to actually build, which is the first time I've said that about the Wolves, man.
Since Sprewell, Cassell,
Yeah.
Madsen, and KG.
Yeah, since I was, wearing pajamas every night. So yeah, that's what.
You don't wear pajamas anymore?
No more special PJs.
How are we
No more
feeling
bunk
about
beds.
these uniforms, by the way?
Love them. I don't
We
change
do?
anything. I like the light. I like the green. And I hate Seattle, but I think Minnesota does it right. They're Seattle colors, but Minnesota does it right.
No, dude. Yeah, no, they're dope. Honestly,
I love
the
'em.
Timberwolves. I think
Really?
they're-
Yeah.
I guess I'm old.
I don't like the white ones. I like the dark blue ones with the trees or these green ones.
I like the purple ones, man. Personally, the
Yeah,
little
those are good too.
Prince tribute. Yeah,
Those are good too.
Those are sick.
Gabe, can you look up for me how many games back we are of the 6th seed as you put up the calendar and I walk through what the Timberwolves schedule looks like until next Thursday, please?
Well, I can only do one thing at a time, but yes, I will. Hold on one second. I'm actually putting up the schedule right now.
Oh, you're good. You're good. God, they play so well on defense together these days too.
No,
It's
they're
been
really
so impressive.
they're really coming together, man. Like I said, and I haven't felt that way about the Wolves really ever. I mean, there was a little time there where we had Jimmy Butler, where I was like, maybe we're kind of doing something.
Yeah,
but
but
then
I
just
think
2 weeks,
everybody kind of felt that was going to be a fleeting thing,
It
right? Like
was,
it
yeah.
was never going to be
Flash in the pan.
the long-term fix for the Timberwolves, right?
No.
Like, but this seems like a 4-year run kind of
we
core.
have a big three.
Yeah.
We actually have a big three.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
do.
I've never felt that way about our team in my life.
With the big Kit Kat bar in the middle.
Yeah, exactly, man. And D'Lo's just been tearing it up too.
Absolutely. Mike says, Nick, looking like the Wolves are going to win 40 plus games. What's the bet again? We'll address that next week when you come back in studio and actually show up for a show.
Rest up, Mike.
Yeah, rest up, buddy. So Wolves recently go 2-2, taking a game from Memphis, which was impressive. Oh, sorry, 3-1. A game from Memphis, dropping one to Philly because Joel Embiid seems to just daddy Karl Anthony Towns every time that they play against one another. A win in Cleveland, which is good, and then a win against the Golden State Warriors. So the upcoming games for the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder on the road, Portland at home twice with a 1-day break in between, and then we will get OKC at home as well. So a little bit of a home stretch. Good time to probably get out to a Wolves game if you're going to go and see some good competition. I think this is going to be a pretty easy clip here for us, and it looks like the Wolves are 34-29 currently, and the Denver Nuggets are 36-26. So really 2 games-ish out of that 6th seed, and I think that needs to be the pillar. Like the benchmark on the ladder that we're looking for right now needs to be to stay out of that play-in scenario, right?
Absolutely.
Because I think the Wolves are dangerous in a series. I think they can be beaten on any given night. But I think if you're going to try to go 5 to 7 games with D'Angelo, Vanderbilt, McDaniels, Cat, Malik Beasley, who seems to be rounding into shape, Naj Reid, and that's a tough roster in a series to play against.
We're deep, man. We actually have a really solid bench.
There's some depth
and there's
out there.
Young talent there, and they're going to grow, and they're going to be relatively affordable. And man, if we can just keep these guys together for a minute, we might actually have a team here with the Minnesota Timberwolves, man.
So what I would like to see, and then you can follow up, I would like to see a win of all 3 home games. I don't care if you drop the one on the road. I get it. Sometimes that's tough. You did just play Golden State. I know Ant didn't play in that game, so if he's still got a lingering injury, not too concerned about that one. But these are 2 teams in 3 games that are very beatable. Absolutely. Take the games, right? You just said it. Take the games that you're supposed to take. Hope that Denver stumbles a little bit, and next week you're looking at 6, and then maybe we start looking at 5. You know what I mean? Like one step at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 series at a time. What do you think?
Well, unlike the Minnesota Wild, I think the Timberwolves are actually on an upward trajectory right now. They're looking like they're actually climbing, which is great, man. They're coming together as a team. They seem to really actually like each other. It seems like there's a great locker room vibe. And we're coming up on these winnable games. And, man, this young talent is just growing. Their confidence is growing. I think definitely we should easily be able to go 3-1 in our next 3 games. If not, take that Oklahoma City game in Oklahoma City, too. And then we're on a nice little win streak, man.
Props to Chris Finch for getting all of this organized. Props to Alex Rodriguez and the GM for getting this was turmoil at the beginning of this season. You know what I mean? New ownership, GM issue, brand new head coach. Cat seemed to be a little unhappy at the beginning of the year. What was going to happen with D'Lo's contract? Do we really have everything came together, and Chris Finch seems to be the guy that deserves a ton of credit. Like, let me ask you something. If this Wolves roster finishes at the 5 seed or higher, Chris Finch is the coach of the year.
Yeah, I think you could definitely make that argument. And, man, I think you got to start to think Anthony Edwards is going to be the rookie of the year, right?
I mean, he's in his 2nd year now.
He is in his 2nd year?
Yep.
Well, man.
So he's a rookie last year.
Okay, well, I guess I just am realizing at this point now how good he is because, my God, that kid is carrying us. He's the glue. He's the glue.
Monster.
I really feel like he's the glue of our team right
now.
You
can make an argument that he'd be most improved.
Oh, well, then there you go. Because, like I said, I didn't even. I guess that just shows that I didn't really follow the Wolves that much
Yeah.
last
Well, he
year.
didn't play a lot during the beginning of the year, right? They worked him in slowly and
And let's be honest, we had a
Minnesota
tough year
fashion.
last year.
Yeah.
It wasn't the most watchable season for the Timberwolves, but man, I've been watching this year, and that kid he's
Lights out.
I see shades of Kobe, MJ. I mean, I really do. That kid is a beast.
His physicality is different. Like he's not LeBron. You know what he is? He's James Harden with a good attitude.
I think he might even be a better athlete.
That's
as crazy
yeah.
as that is to say.
Yeah.
He almost reminds me of a young Derrick Rose, but just
Oh,
bigger.
stop it. That's a little absurd.
Oh,
Derrick Rose was a couple of knee surgeries away from making sure LeBron didn't make it to 6 finals, let alone 10 straight.
I see similar things, man. I really do. With the way he flies around, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for sure. So 3-1 for you as well, then?
Yeah, easily.
All right.
Well, you guys should back off those most improved things as a compliment, though. Speaking as a guy who won most improved in high school sports like twice, it's the worst award you can ever win or get. It's
well,
humiliating.
I just think for a second
You
year,
used to suck, but now you're not so bad.
Right. It's the worst
Oh, and
compliment to get.
I don't think it's
You're the
that.
most improved.
I look at most improved as where were you at last year versus what were you able to do this year. And as a guy that didn't play much at the beginning of the year last year, so he didn't really get a full workload, right? A guy that was kind of an unproven physical scorer last year to come in and turn into not only the number one scoring option on his team, but the leader in his locker room, the guy that's getting the most and has improved probably the most defensively over this year. Why not? Like he has done more than everybody else between last year and this year, in my opinion.
Does he have so from what I've seen, which is very little, but I have seen he's really ferocious as a competitor on court.
Yes.
It seems like he's got that Kobe Jordan gene, to some degree. I'm not saying to that level, but he's got the beginnings of that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there stories about him in the, like the way he trains, the way he practices like that? Have you heard anything like that?
Yeah, there were some stories early this year about, the you can't fucking guard me stuff in practice and getting heated and him running with the 2s against the 1s when the Wolves weren't playing really well and his ability to take responsibility in the media. Like there are some stories out there like that.
Okay. Yeah. Wants to compete. Good. That's exciting.
There we go. Look at that. We've got Gabe excited about Timberwolves basketball for the first time in 7 years.
Well, hopefully Kat doesn't start crying and ruin everything.
Well, it seems like everybody's got. It seems like there's a great vibe in the locker room, which is really exciting for a Minnesota Timberwolves team, man. Because it seems like a lot of the time, it seems like it's just been a joke in there. 1980s before pre-Jordan Bulls, we're talking. You know what I mean? It's a shit show.
Yeah, that's very true. So let us know what you guys think about the Minnesota Timberwolves as we roll into the meat of March here. And in the meat of March, we always have to talk about March Madness, which is the crazed phenomenon that captivates the world, both sports gambling and just television wise, for a pretty solid 3-week run. And then college basketball disappears until March next year. At least that's how I watch basketball. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Yeah. I mean, honestly, everybody makes their bracket, and I don't know any of these players on, 50 out of the 64 teams. And it's like, well, just go off of what you already know about the team. Basically, a lot of times they don't really change. So there you go.
Yeah, we might actually do a little bracket challenge here between me, Mike, if you want to join in, and Gabe or some of our followers online for March Madness. Maybe give a little bit, give something away. Oh. I'm in a giving mood this month. We're gonna try to help the people, right? So let's take a look at 2 of the top teams real quick. I'm not a huge college basketball savant by any means, but Gonzaga, once again, right there at the top. I know they take a tough loss the other week, but if you're a Gonzaga fan, go ahead and thank Minnesota, because 2 years in a row with both Suggs and now Chet Holmgren, we have pretty much gifted you that number 1 seed in the bracket. And then Arizona as well, with a guy named Benedict Maruthan or something like that. Guy's averaging 31.9 points per game.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Sounds like he's carrying them.
Yep. So those are kind of your top contenders. Now your 4 teams on the bubble as of right now are would be teams like Memphis, San Diego State, Indiana, Rutgers, or Loyola Chicago, which, as we remember from a while back with the old lady, kind of the feel-good story of the NCAA tournament, BYU, Oregon, and SMU, 2 programs that are pretty typically in looking at the Elite Eight, but on the outside looking in this year. So it's already been kind of spoken on that this is going to be a very different year for the NCAA tournament.
Man, all I can say is I'm just glad that it's going to go through business as usual, because just a couple of years ago we didn't even
Right.
get to watch March Madness, and now, man, I'm just happy it's on again.
Yeah, it does very interestingly seem to all of the stories. Like, this is, I think, the only thing in sports where the real season seems like it's only about 3 weeks long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm excited for every football game. I don't get excited for baseball until playoffs, but the way that they do playoffs in baseball, which is apparently dead, is a month long or even longer with all of the different series and play-in games. You look at the NBA and you're like, you really don't care about that until the conference finals. This, though, all of the different ways that it can pan out, all of the media attention that it draws from the average consumer is wild to me.
And man, the best thing about March Madness is it's really like any game, anything can happen.
I know.
There's so many times where just dramatic upsets happen. You really can't count on anything
Yeah,
anymore.
you can't. You
Do you
can't.
guys actually like this, or are you just saying that because that's what people say about sports? Like everyone acts like they love it.
No, I truly
Really?
do. I say it every year. Fuck it, I'm not going to do a bracket. And what do I wind
Yeah.
up doing? I sit down and I do the research and I do a bracket every year. And I know nothing about college basketball.
I feel like it's like New Year's Eve for sports fans.
Yeah.
Like everyone acts like it. Like I like on New Year's Eve, I love the party. I love this shit. And then they don't drink the rest of the year. And then
I
No.
just like the tournament vibe, man. I love a tournament. I love guys pushing through, one game after another
The-
after another. I just think
The
that
true bracket for me, like the mass bracket, this is the only thing in sports like it, right? Like,
absolutely.
March Madness is probably the reason that we have like a true bracket now in college football. Like let's think about this. That bracket system is what people live like. They like that. It's definitive. It's not any of this round robin. Well, I beat A and C beat D, so that means I'm better than the beat. Like, it's not any of this ranking shit. It's you got seeded, play it.
Exactly.
And when
if
you're
you lose, you're done.
and when you're a kid and you're playing on these AAU teams and in high school, right? What are you always playing in? A bracket for your tournament for that weekend, right? So it gives you that nostalgic feeling.
No, absolutely, man.
So
It kind of reminds me of the Olympics a little bit, and they're gone now. So it's like you got to watch something,
I bet Mike loves this stuff.
yep. Oh, I'm sure he does. His
I bet he's doing deep reading and stuff like that on this.
big ass
He
analysis
always has,
brain.
Oh yeah, he always has his bracket, and he always knows Mike. Since we were little kids, he has always been like an encyclopedia. So
Has it
Encyclopedia?
changed?
encyclopedia.
And you're like a dictionary. What since it's gone to 68?
Yeah.
I don't think I've watched it since it's 68. Is it like changed at all? Is there any appreciable change?
No, I don't think it retracted. I don't think it added anything except maybe
That's
another
rare.
storyline.
No, it's March Madness, man.
Yeah.
It's more madness.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is
Might
the
as well go
best
128.
best example of organized chaos.
No, yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy to watch all the different schools come from all over the country and come to one place and play all those games.
Yep.
Like I said, tournament format, it really tests teams to the limit.
Do the Gophers still have a basketball team?
We do it. We're awful.
I didn't even know that we had one. No, I'm just kidding.
Assume
Yeah,
they folded them up.
No, they're just bad.
we never do well in the tournament anyway. so-
No,
I
God,
did
no.
1 year when I was young. Like
The
in
one.
90s, 92 or something like that.
The 1 year.
What
The
did we
1
make
year.
it to?
I was alive then.
Final.
Final Four.
Oh wow.
Bobby Jackson, I think, was the guard who was really good.
Ooh.
If I pulled that, I'm actually going to be impressed because I was not even a fan, but I'm going to Google it. So
That's funny. That's funny. So the only other question, because me and Mike talked about a specific coach that is kind of doing his old Derek Jeter, Ben Roethlisberger, peace out on the sport lap around. The circle of the wagons is Coach K. Are they going to grant him a championship with the talent that they have on roster to close this perfect storybook on Coach K?
Man, it's gonna be hard to say. I just know they're gonna have a huge target on their back, even bigger than
Oh
usual.
my God,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, man.
I would love to be the athlete that ends Coach K's career.
That's what I
That
mean.
would be bulletin board. It should be bulletin board material for everybody who plays in the tournament.
Yeah, someone's gonna get drafted just because of that if that ends
Oh.
up happening.
Hits the dagger shot.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely. No, I agree. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. It'll be fun to watch, though. It'll be
Oh.
kind of cool to see the type of send out that he's going to get. Were you right?
Yeah, baby.
Hey, look at
Hell yeah.
the brain on Gabe.
They're not that bad for you.
Stop.
No,
Bobby,
they're
if you're
awful for you.
watching,
Yeah.
shout out, man. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. Come back and coach the team or something, so maybe we can be relevant.
We could use it, man.
I
Absolutely.
was wrong about the year though. It was like 97, so it was right when I was senior in high school. So.
Little more recent. All
That's
right,
all good.
we'll
Little
take
bit.
it.
If you're wondering, everybody, why Gabe doesn't have any hair on the top of his head, it's because his brain's so big it's pushed out all the hair follicles, kind of like Mike. So
He's transcended his hair.
yeah, right. Doesn't need it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Eventually, we're just gonna
That's
get
what
to
I'm
the
doing to
point.
my body too.
At some point, we're just gonna be able to shake the top of Gabe's head like a magic 8-ball, and it's gonna give us the answers to everything in the universe.
Oh man.
So, all right, Gabe, any wild storylines that you might want to follow along with, or teams that you always find interesting come March Madness time?
I'm just gonna try to get a atlas and figure out where Gonzaga is. Can anyone tell me that?
I have no idea. Are they Connecticut?
I don't think anyone
Vermont?
knows.
I know they're an East Coast team. Yeah, I forget, man.
Not a clue.
Now they might be on the West Coast just because I
Okay.
said that. So there
All
you
right,
go.
fine. Where's Wake Forest then?
North Carolina.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
It is okay.
Yep, they are a private school. They have a beautiful campus. They have a beautiful campus. I got to see it when I was out there.
Yeah,
I
they put
can't
out some
presume.
players in the NFL draft every now. and
Yep,
then.
every now and then. They got a good running back there right now. They
All
got
right,
some good
St.
players.
Bonaventure then.
No idea. St. Bonaventure, though? That's your pick? That's Gabe's
That's
pick.
probably who I'll latch myself onto.
All right, we'll take it.
I mean,
All the
Indiana
way.
is who I would because I'm an old white guy.
There you go.
That's fair.
A lot of those old white guys in Indiana.
Absolutely.
Oh, in the 80s, man, they were like a soup like Duke is now,
yeah,
basically.
Ooh.
powerhouse.
Larry Bird had to,
And it was all
came
white
from
guys.
somewhere.
It was all
Yeah,
white
it
guys.
gave us some
It's true.
hope.
Man, remember Wisconsin that one year? That hasn't happened again since.
I
All
hate
those.
Wisconsin.
I
Yeah,
know, but when they had the Big Five and it was all
Yep.
Caucasian gentlemen.
that's
man,
back when I hated white people.
surprising. Yeah, well, you know.
They actually made me hate white people.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
Fair.
they pushed you over the edge, huh?
that's why I have so much swagger now.
So, there you go.
The way that you said swagger was a dead giveaway.
Swagger.
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 They think I'm white and nerdy.
all
That's Gabe back there behind the keyboard. All right. Well, I think that's all we got for the show today.
right, sounds good, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Gabe,
for
what-
having me on.
absolutely, dude. Gabe, what'd you think? Good show?
I thought it was a very good show. You know what? We don't need that mincing guy back. We got this mincing.
Oh,
all
the
right.
We
gauntlet.
want him back. We
The
missed him.
gauntlet has been thrown. Michael, when you come back next week, the bar has been set. You now have to perform to the level, right?
I set the bar pretty low for you, Mike. You got this, man.
Everything earned, not given on this show.
I would say that little brother should call back next after the fights though this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds
You
good to me, man.
you go, Colin.
See if that curse worked on Colby Covington.
What other fights are on the card that to be excited about? Actually,
Well,
I can't even
the
think of one.
co-main event was going to be Rafael dos Anjos versus Rafael Fiziev, and
Rafael got COVID.
unfortunately he got COVID. A guy named
Thought we were done with that.
Hanato Moicano is stepping in to face RDA
What
on
weight
short
class is
notice.
that?
155. Still a 5-round fight. I definitely see RDA taking that fight.
Put Connor in there.
Dos Anjos is the most famous fighter that I don't believe I've ever watched him fight live.
That's
yeah,
true.
no,
Like
he's
just a few highlights and stuff, but yeah,
Former lightweight champion, man. He's a beast. I mean, he
Right.
still is really good, but I think he's a little past his prime at this point. But you never know. Glover Teixeira, man. And then the other fight on the card that was kind of worth watching is Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell taking on
Ooh.
Edson Barbosa.
Is that the Arkansas guy?
Yeah, and Edson Barbosa is one of the nastiest Muay Thai strikers
Yeah.
in the UFC, and he's got really good takedown defense too. So it'll be interesting to see how Bryce Mitchell deals with that, man.
Absolutely. All right, folks. So as I said before, if you are looking to go ahead and win yourself a Marlon Tuipololo, or whatever this guy's last name is, I'll figure it out at some point. Go ahead and share this episode, whether you find the clip or the entire episode over on Facebook or on Notoriety Sports. As many times as you share it, you will be entered in to win it, and we will be giving this card away next week live here on the show. As always, thank you for joining us. We were glad to have you with us for another week at Glass Half Sports. Make sure you follow us. Hit that subscribe button and any notification bells that you can find for future content on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, Patreon, and Twitch.
Yeah, boy.
Man.
And on MC at MCN6 on Saturdays at 2.
Actually,
p.m.
we should probably move that back to 10 p.m. because we've been swearing like sailors on this one,
Oh,
and I'm
jeez.
serious.
Oh.
Hey,
I
MCN
tried to-
After Dark is where you find all the
That's
good
right.
content.
Adult Swim, folks. Yep.
Yeah, we're the Adult Swim version of MCN.
Yep, exactly.
So you can always find us there. If you liked the show, remember to share it. Go ahead and comment below things that you'd like to see us talking about next week as we creep a little bit closer to March Madness, which we will be talking about. We'll have plenty to analyze next week when it comes to the NFL Combine and a lot of what's coming on for that. Because guess what? The NFL offseason for me is officially over. We are into the season for 2022. So that will always be a topic of conversation. Might break down the Ryan Garcia and Canelo fights that are coming up as well here in the coming weeks. And once again, I will tease this special guest that we may have coming on the show. So make sure that you tune in. Take care, stay safe, have fun. Nailed it! Woo!
Ooh-ah.
I'm so proud of you, Gabe.
Go Wild, go Wolves.
You should see how I feel. Airplane, please. There is a thing called tradition.
I